Well, anytime I've got a live crowd where I can see everybody's face, whether they answer my question or not, I know if they're trying. And I walk out on stage and I say, are you overstressed or under recovered? You can only pick one to define your current state of being. Most people want to say both.
Mm.
The answer can never be both, because if you're both overstressed and under recovered, then we got to fix your recovery first. No matter what we do with your stress and what we do with your recovery, until you ping me what it takes to get you to homeostasis, which might not be much, sleep, hydrate, and stop running. You know, people don't want to hear that. But as soon as I see you balance out, right? You're a jar of water with mud in it. You keep shaking it up. I can't see through that. But if we'll just sit it down and let this whole situation recover, the problem settles out. I can see clearly through that. So no matter whether you're overstressed or under recovered, if we've got to make this binary, I got to get you recovered. So if I use the laser, if I use some type of lymphatic technique, if I recommend a little bit better self-care and maybe a wearable, believe it or not, I can actually change some of the things I would have been trying to fix with stressing. Because I'm telling you what, when I scrape you, when I dry needle you, when I manipulate you and stretch you out and do manual therapy on you, that's a stressor, not a recovery. I'm pinging the system so it bounces back, like I turn your phone off so it resets. But every one of those is a stressor. And if I take that great bag of tools and start doing all these stress points, just like you and I used to do, half the people I'm seeing aren't even recovered from the little that they've been doing. And I'm adding it. There's no way you can balance back out in a reasonable amount of time to actually feel the change we've done. So if we talk about this toolbox of techniques, in the bottom of my toolbox are my dry needles, my manipulation, a lot of the fancy taping techniques I know, and some of the strategies I got. You know that top thing you take out of the toolbox first, those really accessible tools? I call that self-care. And if you're not taking this advice, these big treatment hammers won't work. They won't work for long, or they won't hit save on the document. So I think that most of us who would say we're overstressed are overstressed in a non-physical way. And the best way to manage that sometimes is to rest well and then have physical stress to balance it out.
But how do you know? You asked that question to me. I don't know whether I'm overstressed or under recovered. How do you know that?
If your heart rate variability.
How do I know? Okay, how do I check that?
Well, you get a wearable, but I can get you one step closer. Your morning resting heart rate before your feet hit the floor, you got to baseline that. And that's basically whenever that's not at its low number, the number that you see when things are going right. If you're not at that low number, you're not finished recovering from whatever happened to you. And that could be a bad night's sleep. So the minute I check sleep and nutrition as a stressor in your life, not as a recovery, because if you're on an inflammatory diet and you're under 5 hours of good sleep, now two things that are supposed to be recovery are actually stressors that's going to cannibalize your behavior, because you're always going to be fatigued and you're going to be eating out of probably a sugar instinct, a blood sugar instinct, not a good ketogenic, balanced way. So the things that we assume are recovery, like the way you breathe, the way you sleep, the way you hydrate, the way you eat, what if these are stressors? You ain't got enough treatment in your toolbox to fix that situation if you don't at least do it first. So I don't need you on a food journal. I don't need to know a lot about your sleep. If your BMI is off and you've been trying to do the right things, if your elimination is like you're talking about constipation, diarrhea, I know all that stuff, bro. If you're talking about fatigue, there's a good chance you're dehydrated and you're going to flunk a breathing screen, right? So it's really easy, as Lee said, to get in a silo and try to optimize your sleep when you're not breathing right, you got some seasonal allergies, and you're going to bed dehydrated. Or maybe the exercise I prescribe isn't a stressor at all. It's to dump the accumulated tension of the day. Because if you're in your cubicle, even if you got a standing desk and switch positions, you're basically manifesting tension in your body that's going to make you a less efficient walker, jogger, or elliptical machine person than if you dump that tension prior to sleep or even prior to exercise. How many times do you find a mobility problem that doesn't respond to stretching, but it responds to meditation, manipulation, relaxation? Yeah, these aren't mobility problems. These are stability problems that decided it's easier to make you stiff than to trust you to move beyond this point.